welcome to episode 82 of the CRICKETher Weekly. Now, Sid, we've just been watching the last game in the India v Australia series. So Australia wrapped up a what looks to be a pretty comprehensive series win on paper in terms of points, but actually it was maybe a bit closer than that scoreline kind of has it. I thought it was interesting that before today's game, Lisa Sthalekar was actually kind of going through match by match and saying that she had allocated India and Australia points in various different complicated ways, which I won't totally go into. But before today's game, she actually had India ahead in her mini point system. So yeah, it's been quite a close one. It's been really great for women's cricket, I feel, to have another close series following on hot on the heels of the England v New Zealand series, and also England v India earlier in our summer, which I think was another competitive series. So that's been brilliant for cricket. But maybe a little bit of a surprise that Australia have, to some extent, despite their kind of, on paper, what's been a comprehensive win, they have slightly underperformed. So do you think that their crown is slipping a bit, Sid, ahead of the Women's Ashes and the World Cup? Or are we just being optimistic as England people?
Yeah, I think that it's certainly fair to say that a couple of those drawn matches, so the Test and the first T20, you could certainly argue that India won them on points if cricket was played like that, which obviously it isn't. And I think that the crucial thing is that Australia turned up when it really mattered. I mean, in the T20 series, there were a couple of moments where it looked like they were in control of those games, but Australia were able to pull that back in both cases. Australia haven't been perfect in the T20 series particularly. I mean, you have to be a little bit careful about reading too much into what was effectively in the end a two-match series. But, Ashley Gardner, Meg Lanning, Elise Perry and Alyssa Healy, none of them really had any impact at all. It's something like 20 runs between the whole lot of them in the T20 series, bearing in mind that's only 2 at-bats each. But Beth Mooney, who was the Cricketer of the Year last year for Wisden, you wrote that piece about her then. She's she's still got that, hasn't she? She's still performing really well, and of course Talia McGrath is, after there was quite a long time where everyone said Talia McGrath was a really promising player, and it did kind of starting to look as if she was one of those players that was always going to be promising and was never going to quite bring it in the international arena. Every time she got an opportunity for Australia, she didn't quite convince. But in this series overall, she's really turned up with the bat. I think that it's very interesting. They've been batting her a bit higher up, and they're kind of saying she's hardly bowled basically. So they're saying she's not really an all-rounder in this format. Even though perhaps still in WBBL, she might mostly be considered a bowler that can also smash it a bit. She was definitely playing here as a batter and really performed outstandingly in these last 2 T20s, and was a big part of why Australia won those games. So is Australia's crown slipping? I think that's a bit optimistic.
Okay, well, I just think in terms of the bowling, it's quite interesting to reflect on as well. You've just talked quite a bit about the batting. In that match that we've just seen, Elise Perry didn't bowl at all. And it does feel a little bit like she's lost a bit of her kind of zing, her mojo with the ball since she's kind of been clawing her way back from injury. Now, of course, you would probably have her in your side purely as a batter, which perhaps that will be what her role will evolve into. And I know that I have also written her off with the ball a couple of times in the past. See also 2017 World Cup. She has been through kind of lean patches before, so maybe she'll come back from that, but I think that is maybe a little bit of a worry for Australia, somebody who's previously been very much their kind of new ball stalwart going into the Ashes and the World Cup is not perhaps going to be performing that role. It's been great to see Volemic kind of back in action and breaking speedometers here, there and everywhere. There is still an extent to which Australia have got this kind of revolving door of bowlers that they bring in and throw in and go, oh, this one's going to be the next Elise Perry, the next Megan Shute, and they don't quite live up to that billing. So I think that's perhaps perhaps a little bit problematic as well. I mean, I'm sure that the Australians watching this will just say that we're splitting hairs, and perhaps we are, because the thing is that our expectations of Australia compared with other teams are sort of up here, aren't they? That's where we're coming from. So yeah, we are splitting hairs in a way that we perhaps wouldn't with other sides, because we've just come to expect Australia to put on the perfect performance every time. But we've seen that their ODI winning streak has now been broken, and I think that's probably a good thing for cricket. So not down on Australia at all. I guess we'll talk more about the Women's Ashes a bit closer to the time. But anyway, as I say, great for women's cricket overall to have a really exciting competitive series. Now, from an Indian perspective, Sid, it's obviously been lots of exciting things happening with them in terms of especially chucking a few new pace bowlers into the mix. There was the big viral ball from Shikha Pandey, who obviously isn't a new quick bowler, but perhaps hasn't been so much on people's radars, been a little bit in and out of the team. That ball that just swung miles and miles and miles. It was a ridiculous ball. Is there anything that you think that India kind of should be doing differently, or that they should be kind of reflecting on taking away from this series, especially going into the 50 over World Cup next year?
Yeah, I'm still not 100% convinced about the captaincy issue and about Mithali Raj's position within the team, and I think that's become actually even more clear over this series. That I'm not sure that she's really justifying her place, and I think that India could be a better side without her. Ooh. But here's my thing. Here's something radical I'm going to just throw in there, okay. Raf. Because if I was Ramesh Power, the Indian coach, what would I do if I really wanted to make a, wait for it, power move? Sorry. I'm sorry, guys. If I wanted to make a power move, I think that I would be looking at removing Mithali Raj now and not taking her to the World Cup. What would I be doing? Okay, here's what I would be doing. I would be making Jemimah Rodrigues captain across all 3 formats. She'll be captain for the next 10 years. And there's lots of reasons for this. But, so first of all, without Mithali there, Jemimah's place in the side is much more guaranteed. Okay. So, Mithali is taking up the kind of natural role that Jemimah should be playing in that side. Without Mithali in the picture, Jemimah is an automatic selection, first of all. Okay. Secondly, she's got the best cricketing brain of that generation of Indians, I think, and she will bring out the best in everybody. She's not a player that's focused just on herself. You can see from her contributions in commentary that she's thinking, 360 about the game, about all the other players, about all the positions on the field. She will make a better player out of everybody else in that team, in a way that that a captain can really make a difference like that. So I think that she's got the cricketing brain to do it. She's a great communicator. She's great with the media. And I think all those things are important. So if you really want to throw the cat among the pigeons, but give India a real opportunity to win the 50 over World Cup, that's what I'd be doing. Am I mad?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Barking,
many would agree
mad.
with you.
Well,
Woof.
I mean, it's not going to happen. So it doesn't really matter what I think to some extent, because it's not going to happen. Power's the coach who fired Mithali, or not quite fired her, but deselected her once before, and it kind of backfired on him, didn't it? So he's not going to do that. I also think that there are hierarchies within Indian women's cricket particularly that mean that you aren't going to suddenly get Jemimah Rodrigues kind of leapfrogging Harmanpreet Kaur for the captaincy when Harmanpreet's been doing the role in T20s for a while now. So I just think that you're a bit bonkers to expect that if you think that she's going to suddenly somehow come in and captain in the T20 format, and also she, as you sort of touched on, she doesn't even have an automatic place in the ODI side at the moment. Now, we can debate the rights and wrongs of that, but as I say, if you're thinking about kind of team hierarchies, which I think are particularly important culturally within India, then it seems unlikely that she's suddenly going to leapfrog her way to the top in that way. Perhaps in a few years' time, I don't disagree with you. I think that her contributions to commentary during the 100 were excellent, and she has got a really good cricket brain, and she is brilliant to interview, and she's, I have great interactions with her with my kind of journalist hat on, but I don't think that she's suddenly going to come in and be a captain, and I wonder whether as well, even if that were to happen, whether you kind of make some of the more established senior players a little bit cross by doing that, and that's not really a good thing. You don't want those kind of tensions in a dressing room, especially kind of going into the biggest global tournament in women's cricket. So yeah, you're a bit bonkers, Sid, but we're throwing it out there because let's generate some controversy. Why not? That's what we do on the CRICKETher Weekly.
And talking of controversy.
Talking of controversy?
Absolutely, Raf.
Okay, I was going to move on to talk about WBBL.
Exactly.
Have you got some dirt for me? So WBBL starting this week. We're really excited, and kind of links to what we were just talking about, because there's going to be a lot of Indians playing in it. Partly because they're already there. You can kind of get around those COVID quarantine requirements because they've already done the quarantine. So that makes things a bit easier. We're also going to see a couple of different English players, because the England internationals were meant to be in Pakistan, not happening now, of course, as we talked about in last week's podcast. So it's going to be an exciting tournament, have a little bit of a different look. And the other news that we've had this week is that all of the games, for the first time ever, are going to be televised. So what does that mean for us in the UK, Sid, first of all?
Yeah, for us in the UK, it is interesting. So previously, you could watch all the games, and many of the games were streamed by Cricket Australia. So that meant that they weren't on quote television, which means they didn't fall into the TV rights, and those games were therefore not part of the TV package that you took in this country, that BT Sport have had. This time they will be part of the TV package, and this time as well, changing it up, mixing it up a bit, is that Sky Sports have stepped in and bought the rights to BBL and WBBL.
So you're telling me I need to buy a Sky Sports
So unfortunately, you need to buy a Sky Sports subscription. Now, we can get an online subscription. It would need 2 months online subscription. That'll cost us about £70, and we're fortunate that that's not, we don't have to worry too much about that. We can afford that. But
it is in addition to what we're already paying.
It is in addition to what we're already
Sport.
paying to BT Sport. I think we'll probably have to ditch BT Sport. Sorry, BT Sport, you've been great, but
it's okay, they don't sponsor us, so we're fine.
But what kind of gets me about this, and I'm going to have a little bit of a rant about this, Raf, is that...
Is this the controversy bit?
Well, it is a little bit, yes. That we're going to pay sort of £70 to Sky Sports, and almost all of that £70 is going to go to buy another solid gold Lamborghini for Cristiano Ronaldo. Almost all of that £70 is going to men's football. That's where it's going to end up. It's going to end up in the hands of Cristiano Ronaldo's solid gold Lamborghini dealer.
Great.
I don't know who they are. They're probably quite pleased about it, but it's not going to cricket. What I'd like to see is the ICC to kind of step in and take control of this, to take control of the global media rights of cricket and allow people like us and fans all around the world to buy a subscription via the ICC, where we pay something like £35, £40, we'd happily pay that. And we can therefore have the right to watch everything, and there's some sort of global agreement and redistribution of the money, and it gets put here and here, and everyone winds up thinking it's fair, but we can watch all the cricket, and all of our money goes directly into cricket, and it kind of bypasses these issues with Sky and BT and things. Because the issues with Sky is not just the fact that we're paying a load of money towards men's football. It's also that, will we actually be able to watch all the games? No, we almost certainly won't be able to watch all of the games. So there are some games going on simultaneously. So even if Sky show every single game on their cricket channel, or rather, even if they show all of the games they can on their cricket channel, there'll be some that aren't shown. They may show them behind the red button if you buy a full Sky subscription with their special box and the satellite dish that points up at the sky. But if you're going to buy an online subscription like we would have to, the full subscription for the benefit of non-UK users is about £350 a year, something like that. And you have to buy it an entire year in order to do that. So I think that there are better ways of organising this, and I'd really like to see the ICC step in and attempt to do that. I know that there'll be difficulties with it. I know that currently the rights don't work like that. It's something the ICC could do, and it should do, for the benefit of fans and for the benefit of cricket. Rant over.
Can I throw something in here as well that could be even more controversial? You should be able to buy a women's cricket subscription. and a men's cricket subscription, and you can choose which ones you have. Because then all of the money that comes from the women's cricket subscriptions could go straight into the women's game, and we could break away from the ICC.
Ooh.
I think our viewers will probably be quite amenable to that, by and large, but just saying, just putting it out there, let's do it.
Yeah, let's put things out there.
Cool.
Anyway, and finally this week, we had the Cricket Writers Club lunch, which is where a load of cricket, not just writers, but broadcasters and other media people, and so people like David Gower and Ali Mitchell and all the crowd from Sky and the BBC were all
just
there.
Name dropping our close personal friend David Gower.
And we went up to London and we enjoyed a nice meal at the Oval and a couple of glasses of wine.
A couple.
And they gave out a couple of awards, didn't they, Raf?
They did.
And a bit of a change this year because there's usually been like a couple of men's awards. So there's a men's award for the like kind of breakthrough player or young player.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another men's award for the best county championship player. And traditionally there's only been one women's award, hasn't there? But this year there were two. So tell us all about it, Raf, because you were on the committee of the Women's Awards.
Yes. So the established Women's Award, the J.M. Finn Women's Cricket Award, has been going for a few years now. And this year that was awarded to Sophia Dunkley. So congratulations to her. And then the new award that we had this year was the Summeridge Estate Wines Emerging Cricketer of the Year. And that is the new award. So this was the inaugural time that it's run. And that was won by Alice Capsey. And I was really pleased to see the addition of another award there because I think it's really important that, I mean, often these cricket award ceremonies are dominated by men's cricket because traditionally they were 100% men's cricket. Because basically the people who ran them just didn't really care or know anything about women's cricket. And they've kind of gradually then you slip in the odd women's cricket award here and there, but it's still very much kind of unbalanced and very much weighted towards the men's game. So I have to say that I've been sort of pushing the Cricket Writers Club a little bit for the last few years to say let's have a kind of established Women's Cricket Award, which is the one we've already got, and then have a kind of emerging Female Cricketer of the Year award as well. I didn't do it single-handedly. There are other people as well pushing for this behind the scenes, and Ali Mitchell's been really supportive in particular of kind of introducing more women's cricket awards. She was the former chair of the Cricket Writers Club, just been succeeded by George DeBell this year. So yeah, it's not just me, but I'm really pleased to see this because it's something that I think is really important.
Great. And how are the awards decided, Raf? Who decides who gets those awards?
Okay, so the new one, the emerging Cricketer of the Year, is done by members' vote. So the Cricket Writers Club kind of throw out a few names and they send out an email and they say, oh, these are some names that you might want to consider. Just email us with your votes. And then, but obviously you can choose whoever you want, and then they tally up the votes in that way. So Alice Capsey was awarded this kind of by popular vote, I suppose. And,
yeah,
now did you vote for her, Sid?
I might have done, but I mean she's had such a breakthrough year in terms of like she's become literally a superstar. She's like one of the most famous in a year. She's gone from the kind of people that watch the CRICKETher Weekly know who she is to my 85-year-old dad knows who she is.
Wow.
So she's heading for celebrity like nobody in women's cricket in this country ever has before. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And really nice to see her there. And she had her mum and dad there as well. And we managed to have a quick word with her dad, and he's obviously really proud of her. So that was lovely. And then the kind of main or main Women's Cricket Award, won by Sophia Dunkley this year, is decided by a small committee of people, of Cricket Writers Club members, including myself, but some other people who are sort of seen as being vaguely knowledgeable about women's cricket, if I'm allowed to say that about myself. So we kind of get together, put our heads together towards the end of the season and say, right, who's had a good year, who might be in the running for this, and then we kind of sort of decide amongst ourselves.
So who else was in the frame apart from Dunks?
Tammy Beaumont.
Yeah, she had a great year overall. She had a little bit of a poor run around the time of the 100, didn't she? But overall, if you look at her entire year, right from New Zealand through to the obviously the literally last last little
Yeah.
bits of the year when she scored that 100.
Scored that 100, exactly. So yeah, she was definitely in the running. There are a few other names thrown around, but I think Sophia Dunkley is a really worthy winner, actually.
Absolutely.
It's again, perhaps the back end of her season has been slightly less successful, although you could probably say that of a lot of the England batters. Most of them didn't have a great ODI series in the end against New Zealand. But what she did against India was really important. I guess there's a kind of symbolic importance around being the first black woman to play Test cricket for England. But just the fact that she made her Test and her ODI debuts within a few days of each other, and she had several really important performances for England in both of those formats, and kind of won them. She in particular, I remember that game at Taunton, that ODI at Taunton, that she basically won for England just by kind of playing sensibly, really. So that was really exciting. And so I think that absolutely a worthy winner, and it was nice to see her briefly on Tuesday and just be able to say congratulations. We've had, obviously, because of COVID, there's been definitely a very noticeable distance between us and the players the last couple of seasons. So actually being in the same room as someone and being able to go up and just say well done was quite nice. So well done to those two, to Sophia Dunkley and Alice Capsey, and thanks very much to the Cricket Writers Club. We had a very nice day, didn't we, Sid?
We did.
Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. I guess that this time next week the WBBL will be underway, and perhaps we'll be bringing you some roundups of the first few matches in that. We're looking forward to the next few weeks, and beyond that, the Women's Ashes and then the World Cup. So it's I was going to say it's all to play for this winter. I mean, we're not playing for anything. We're just going to be talking about it. Anyway, bye for now.
Bye.